This has to be up. What? Sure. First, let's establish where we're going to start. We'll start from the middle of this paragraph, Ois Ches. The line starts on page 186. The line starts with Kina Sevu Kolam Malu Kolamim, Amad Yiskasi, Amad Yisgali. Okay? That's where we're going to start. Zehoya Hagdoma. You have the place?
The line starts,
Bechina Sevu Kolam.
Yes.
No, a little bit lower, right. Okay? Yeah, your question.
What does it mean the Alma Discassia is become connect, Shnasa Chibu between Alma Discassia and Galia, and after and more than this, it's the Alma Discassia the Fach to be Alma Disgalia.
Hafcha, Hafach, Alma Disgalia.
What's the Chibur and
It says it becomes.
Hello?
I think it becomes joined and then.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah, thank you, Rachel. I'm middle class. Oh, thanks. Sorry, I suspected it was very important. Let us understand this from a personal experience, from our personal lives. One of the great challenges in our avodah is that we should be able to see the world, the physical world, the way we see it from a spiritual perspective. Because the truth is that the physical world is a non-mitzias, is a non-entity, but for the fact that there is a spirit, there's a spirit here. The Alter Rebbe says the following words. This is in a letter, so he's like encouraging, and he says that we have to try, this is basically his words, you have to try not to be false to ourselves. We say Hashem Echad with closed eyes. And we mean it. Hashem Echad. And with closed eyes, like we spoke yesterday, we see that Lamailo or Lamato, up and down on all sides, Echad. And then we open our eyes, and the Alter Rebbe says we open our blind eyes. We open the eyes, but we don't see the truth, we don't see the reality. All of a sudden, we lose the whole thing. So, in relative terms, this is like Amadis Casio and Amadis Galia. Amadis Casio Bayas is what we know deep down in ourselves. Amadis Galia is what we are experiencing, what we are dealing with. For instance, it is easier for a person to say the whole world is Hashem's creation than to say this table is Hashem's creation. Because the minute it comes to this table, this is his reality. He's touching it, he's feeling it. And he doesn't see Hashem in it, he sees the table. When he talks about the whole world, that's a hidden thing. That he thinks from a deeper perspective. When we start talking about something which is right in front of him, then it becomes a problem. there is an insight that, Abbas Yisrael is a great principle. Abbas Yisrael is a great principle with us, not because it's a nice social thing, but because that is the mark of the Jewish truth. Abbas Yisrael. And we all love every Yid. The only ones that we have a problem with is the one sitting right next to me. He is a little different. Everyone else is wonderful. And we mean it. That's what Alma discussed in Alma Discuss. In Alma Discussio, everything is contained within the truth. Like the fish is contained in the water, and it's part of the water. It cannot be separate from the water. It cannot survive, any duration of time without the water, outside of the water. That's how we discuss. This is when we perceive the existence from a concealed perspective, from a perspective as we see it in reality. This is how the truth is, from a truth perspective. But when we start identifying individual entities, become Amudi Iskalia, where things are identifiable individually, then we have a problem. Amudis Casio is mischaber, joins with Amudis Galia. This is like a person is capable to connect his insight from a Munmuna perspective and translate it and see how this is in his practical life. And Amudis Casio becomes his Galia. Then there is nothing to connect. Then all there is the truth itself. To put it into words, the difference is between saying, I'm talking about the hischabros, between saying Hashem creates this, Hashem creates this, that this and Hashem are two separate things, but Hashem creates it. Or saying Hashem is all over. There's nothing but Hashem. I don't have to say Hashem creates it, but because all over is Hashem.
He said over here, the Atmos is higher than Soviet Kolam Mimala Kolam. Soviet Kolam Mimala Kolam is Kasser and Galio, is two different groups.
Two different groups.
So with that, we should relate Chibur and Mapach to Soviet Mimala too, or it's Soviet become Chaber to Mimala and transform to Mimala too, or not?
No. So it becomes Nizgala within Memali. Because when Soviet becomes one with Memali, so then there is no Metzias. Memali means that there are individual entities. But these individual entities do not conceal the truth as to where they come from, what they are. What the chayas that makes them be. This is when it becomes united with Amudis Kasi. Just want to finish on him. The reason that we're bringing in this point, that Atzmus Ein Sof is higher then all of these madrigas, and Soive, and Mamale, then Amadis Kasi, and Amadis Galia. And that makes it possible that there should be this ischadus. The point in this is as follows. Normally, if Almadis Kasya should reveal itself in Almadis Galio, so there will be no more Almadis Galio. There will not be a Metzias. If Soivev should reveal itself in Mamale, the Mamale will become Bot. I'll give you an illustration of this. Let's say in the human being, Almadis Kasya in the human being is his thought. The thought is what he has internal to himself. This actually reveals to himself what his own truth is. Speech is a revealed part. It's so revealed that it's possible for a person to say what he doesn't even mean. Possible for a person to lie. How can a person lie? It's his koyach, because it's so detached from him. It's possible for him to do something contrary to his own beliefs. When a person is very deeply into his thought, and he is imbued entirely in the concept of his thought, he can hardly speak. In order to speak normally, he has to distract himself from his thought and put that aside and sort of draw from it, remember what he thought, prepare himself to speak, and then speak. He can't speak while he is imbued and completely submerged in his thought. Why? Because the thought and speech are such different worlds that thought overwhelms speech. Sometimes you think of something and you have such a clarity of it, such a view of it, that you can begin to explain it to someone, because to you it's so clear you can't imagine what there is to be explained. In order for you to begin to speak, you have to distract yourself from your thought and put yourself in the other person's shoes, project what it is that he doesn't know, then begin to speak. Otherwise you have nothing to say. Because it's so true, it's so obvious. So normally, when these two levels come together, one overwhelms the other, and the other becomes dysfunctional. And this is what would happen if in this world there would be a revelation, which is higher than word. Ramadi is Galia, this Kasya. There would be no mitzvah world to speak of. Today, when we want to make a choice, how do we make a choice? We don't see directly, this is mine, this is yours. We use a rational approach. You have to have proofs for things. What's the best way to do it? The seichel has to be engaged. You have to use logic. Imagine for a moment that this watch would be screaming, I belong to Abba Paltiel. You found the watch. Would you have to ask, whose watch is this? You mean, whose watch is this? The watch will protest. What do you mean, who watches this? There will be no world. The whole union of the world today is that we have Bechira. Bechira. We have the process of choice. We have to figure things out. When everything becomes completely obvious, like it says that La'osid Lovoi means the future time. When you take a fruit off a tree, if the fruit, let's say, is orla, you know what orla means, the first 3 years, the tree won't let you take the fruit. They say, where are you coming to?
I thought it would bite you.
Huh?
It would bite you.
He will bite you. I don't know about that, but he would not let you take the fruit. The truth is, he wouldn't have to bite you because you will not even think of doing it. You will see it's an overosif. So that the entire concept of Amudis Galia is neutralized, not a Metzias. The entire concept of Amudis Galia is when you make a decision on some basis and you have to prove and you have to test yourself. And you have to watch every step. Nothing. I'll give you an interesting illustration of this, which exists today. It says that the earth is rooted in Almadis, in Soivev. Soivev. The earth is rooted in Soivev. Rooted. It's the Shoresh. It represents Soivev Kolam. That's why the earth is a circle. And there is no, the earth, I once explained an interesting phenomenon. I don't know if any one of you were there at the time. That in the earth, on the earth itself, there is no passage of time. Time is only because how we experience it. But the earth itself does not have a passage of time. Time, day, night, seasons, nothing. No change at all. How is that? Because at any given moment, there is on the earth every denomination of time, every possible denomination of time, and every possible denomination of seasons. There's winter and summer, midwinter, midsummer, on the earth at all times. There's midday and midnight on the earth at all times. It's so good. It's not mamali. It's not a normal existence that depends on time and changes. The changes is only because we live in a limited view of the earth. But in totality, it's the same. Okay. Now, in terms of our experience, as a child, probably every one of us thought, what would happen if I walk this whole distance? At the end of that, there's going to be an end of the earth. I'm going to fall over. You never thought of that. Okay. But this is a very common thought by children. They project their environment. And I'll tell you something. Not so long ago, this was a common thought by adults as well. Okay? Not in Torah adults, but outside in the Torah, we always knew that it's a circle. Okay? It goes back all the way to the Zohar. There was no such confusion. Sphere. Okay? So now, understand the following. We live within a certain denominations of the earth. But nevertheless, there is still the aspect of Seder, even in our own experience. We can walk on the earth indefinitely, never reach the end. Right? Never fall off the cliff. That's an aspect of Seder. In a Malay, which is something finite, has an end. So this is the principle, that if Soiver or Amadis Kasya should reveal itself in Amadis Galia, then Amadis Galia ceases to be Amadis Galia. In order to preserve, see, this is the great thing, in order to preserve, save, to allow both things to be together, to be Amadis Kasya, in Almadis, be Almadis Galio, and yet they both exist. So from a world perspective, that's not possible. But from the perspective of Atzmos Ein Sof, even that is possible. Because Atzmos Ein Sof is completely above this whole thing. Above, Soiv is above time and space. But Atzmos Ein Sof is not above time and space. It's not. It's a completely different realm. There's no realm. And from the perspective of Atzmos Ein Sof, and there's a Gil Atzmos Ein Sof, there could be Sof and Mala together. This is why this thing is brought in. In other words, this was not a disruption of the world. This was a revelation of a higher, completely higher perspective.
Says not only a chibur, but it also becomes
Amadis Kasi becomes right.
But then it says Zu. That's going back to the lesser thing. Not say like it becoming it. Is that kind of also a chibur?
That's also a chibur. It's a chibur. It's a greater level of a chibur. It becomes itself. I don't think that reverting back to the terminology of his chabrus, he means to exclude what he says before that nasa. Okay. Just a way of simply referring to that whole phenomenon. Okay.
Alma discussion become Alma Galia, so Alma discussion doesn't change. Just now, they can see this Alma discussion. Not changes, but you can see this. It's not discussing.
Right. This phenomenon, this episode at Kriyas Yamsuf that broke all rules of the world was a Hagdama, was a preparation for Matan Torah. Lihayois, so that there could be Alidei HaTorah, as through Torah there could be Hamshoch as Bechinas Atzmus Ein Sof, so that we could through Torah be Mamshich the Atzmus Ein Sof. Torah brings to the world a completely different aspect, something which is completely higher than creation, but Atzmas Ein Sof. In order to facilitate that, there had to be this Hagdoma, this first step. The reason for that necessity, that should be a first step, Kol HaHamshochos, because all Hamshochos, everything that is being revealed, that's brought down, Sheheim Bibchinas Kviyus B'Neshomas Yisrael, that become the Kavua. Kavua means permanently established. In the Shomois, Hoyot Chilo Hagilui Mizevel Fisho. Before that, before it becomes Bikvius, before it becomes permanently established, it had to be first revealed for a moment, momentarily.
What is Chol Hamshachos? It seems like there are other ones besides this one.
Right. Kol Hamshoches. All aspects, all kinds of Hamshoches that are given in Shomas Yisrael are first given Viklolus and then Viprotus.
Klolus is for the Shah, the time?
For the moment, right, for the show. And then they become permanently established.
What are some other examples of this? Like any major event, like creation of man, like
Well, Matan Torah itself. Matan Torah itself, from the moment there was Hashem came down on the mountain and spoke. And he spoke to Torah. When did the Torah become permanently ours? Only when Moshe first came down from the mountain. And this was just for the moment. The same is about Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael became permanently our land. You know when? After Yetzias Mitzrayim. But before that, way before that, Hashem told Abraham to go to Eretz Yisrael and walk around the whole land and to claim ownership in a certain sense. Sometimes we'll discuss this more broadly, but this is the pshat over here. The tachlis hamshocha the Torah bikviyus, because the ultimate hamshocha of Torah in a permanent manner, what is the tachlis? The tachlis, the ultimate purpose is shalidei yesek haTorah, that by engaging in Torah, yeshina hateva. This would affect a change of nature. You don't have the place? You have the place? You have the place? Do you have the place? Yeah. Yeshina Torah. There will be a change of nature. And what does this mean? There will be a change of nature. Hainu, which means shehanelam hamustar b'teva, that nelam, that deeper power that is concealed in nature, Yibagil, should come out and become on surface and be revealed. So to these words, I'll come back in a little while. V'ho yotzorich li is tchilo ha'hamshocho begilu lefisho. And therefore, this hamshocha had to first be revealed lefisho for the moment. Shalidei zeh, where as a result of that momentary revelation, you chaliyes achar kach bikviyus, it should become possible later in a permanent manner.
That's just an accepted principle. I mean, he doesn't really go into the fact that it has to be this way. Sorry for you guys.
Well, not yet. He didn't. Right. This is the principle. Right. If we see what you say, what you're asking is very good. Let me give you a little bit of an insight in general and the approach of how Chassidus is being taught. Just like we discussed yesterday, he said, Re'ei, there are two ways to teach something, Shmiya and Re'iyah. When you have Shmiya, you have to substantiate it. On what basis are you saying what you're saying? But when you're showing something, you don't need a basis. You see it. Pnimis HaTorah is principally taught in a manner of Re'iyah. If you think into what is being said, you see, oh, it looks right. It's an interesting thing. In the Gemara, surely you came across it. The Gemara says Toshma. Did you ever come to that expression, Toshma? What does Toshma mean?
Come and learn, come and listen.
Come and listen. Come and listen. You know what the corresponding expression in Zohar is? Tochazi. Chazir, chazon, to see. In Amudis Galio, everything has to be substantiated. In Amudis Casio, it's self-substantiated. Doesn't need substantiation. I'm sorry, substantiation? Proving itself, making it emes, making it solid, proof. Do you understand what I'm saying? To prove yourself. We discussed this principle, not in these words, but the truth of this principle we discussed from various angles. In a simple sense, in Amud Diz Galia, why is this table standing? Because it has legs. And when you see the table standing, you ask, why is it standing? What makes it stand? The answer is, it has legs. In Amud Diz Kasya, so to speak, in the inner soul of this, you don't ask why is it standing, what makes it stand the legs. Why is it standing here? What is its function? And the answer is not the legs. It doesn't stand here because it has legs, it has feet. It stands here because we're learning. It's obvious why it's here. Not here because it has feet. You understand? It's Amud Diskasi. So then you don't need to substantiate. You know how to say this? Oh. We speak all the time about sight and how sight, and yesterday at great length we discussed the power of sight, the importance and the effect of sight. And we said that somebody who has who does not see, doesn't have a real world. His world is an imaginary world. It's not a real world. Now, let's see somebody who doesn't see, God forbid, but he had seen before. At one time, he had healthy eyes, he's able to see. And then Hashem he lost his eyesight. How is he compared to someone who has never seen? You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Someone who's never seen he can't relate to the reality. Someone who had seen at one time, but he doesn't see now, sure he's in great pain. But still he can relate to the concept of reality. And if you start talking to him about there's such thing as reality, he can relate to it. Right? Those are the pshat, the principle, that before you can start working on something to bring it into reality, you have to be shown that reality is true. It's possible. Then you can start working on bringing it down. If you've never seen it, you can't relate to it. Those are the pshat that all hamshoches that come bekviyas and shomas Yisrael had to first be revealed before for the moment, in order that they should be able to go and start working on it. So they have a goal, they have a reality that they are working towards. They can relate to it. And you start saying, you should know that Teva is not real. You say, what do you mean Teva is not? Oh, I've seen it one time. I've seen it. Yeah, there's such a thing. It's very real to me now, but I've seen it when it wasn't. ועל דרך עניין החינוך. על דרך עניין החינוך. This is similar to the principle of chinuch. What is chinuch? Chinuch is like the inauguration to start bringing, like you take a child, you're a mechanech child to do mitzvahs. Chinuch. Shehu hagilui bitchilo milmaylo. Chinuch essentially is that first there is a gilui from above, b'bchinas gilui mamash. It's a full-fledged gilui. B'kdei, in order sheyiach arkacha hamshocha b'seder v'hadrogo da'avodah. That afterwards it could be hamshocha in a seder v'hadroga, in an organized and a sequential manner that is called avodah. Zeh inyan kriyas yamsuf. And thus, this is the inyan, the function, the purpose was accomplished in kriyas yamsuf. Shoya hagdomo lematan toivo. And it was really a hagdomo, a precursor, a preamble for Matan Torah, for the giving of the Torah. And what is Torah? Matan Torah? Matan Torah is that we received to effectuate, okay, to imbue, to bring the definitions of Torah onto the world, to start looking at the world from a Torah perspective. That changes the whole perspective. Like we discussed in the past, that whereas before Matan Torah, or without Torah, we first recognize, we see the world. The world is there. What kind of question? It's undeniable. When we learn Torah, we see the world completely differently. Say, what is the world? The world is a godly creation. And if not for the creation, there's no world. Start looking at the world completely differently. That also explains what it says, that Kriyas Yamsuf was in the merit of Yankiv. Why the merit of Yankiv? Hine be Yankiv ksiv, because by Yankiv it says, Vayikach lo Yaakov Maka livne lach veluz ve'arm. That Yankiv took a stick of livne, a stick of livne lach, veluz, a stick of luz, and a stick of armon. I don't know if you would remember where this is. This is where Yankiv was by Lavan, in Lavan's house. And he used these sticks. The Pashas, what it says in the Torah, that he uses sticks, he put them in the waterways for the sheep to see when they come to drink.
Lach is the stick, or lach is describing on the love?
Lach is a description of Livne. Amaka Livne, lach, it was soft.
Is Livna a type of tree?
Yeah.
You know what it's doing with the...
No, I don't know exactly what it is. Every time I learn it, I know it.
Mine is hazel and chestnut.
Okay.
I know it now.
Right. So these are three different kind of sticks that Yankiv took, and he used them in his avodah. So the Pashas, it says that this was Yankiv's way to compete with Lavan. But we know and we understand ourselves that Yankiv's competition with Lavan was not in order to accumulate wealth. Yankiv's competition with Lavan was in order to draw from Klippa that which belongs in Kedusha. This was a whole avodah. And this is what he used the sticks. And the avodah of the sticks was not a periphery type of thing. This was a direct effect on the avodah and a direct relationship to the avodah. V'isa b'zohar. It says in the Zohar, shezehu hiskalolus bechinas chesed ugvura. That this inyan, maka livne lach, and then luz and armoin, this represents his kalolus of joining together the inyan of the bechina, the quality of chesed with gvura. And we'll come back to discuss this in a moment. The livna hu bechinas chesed, and that because livna is loshen lovan, white. White is allusion to chesed. The lach means moist, soft. Lachluch is hamayim. Lachluch is a mayim, moisture is always related to water. Hu b'chinas achasodim, because mayim is also chesed. Eishu mayim is chesed and gvura, or gvura and chesed. V'luz v'yarmein, and luz and armein marehen odum, they have a red coloring, a red appearance, which is b'chinas gvura, which is in of gvura. So these are the three types of six Yankiv took. Vayfasil behen pitzolos levonis. Then the pasuk says that Yankiv peeled off from his sticks pitzolos levonis, white peels. He peeled off in a circle around the stick, made white peels, and it was interleaved white and the other color, white and red. Hainu, what is this Pitzolos Levonis? Hainu, that represents Hanitio El HaChesed. This is the Nitio El HaChesed. This is the leaning towards Chesed, because you have a red, which is representative of Gvura, and then you peel off white spots. This is represents the leaning towards Chesed within the middle of Gvura, which is the Midas Orachim. It means Orachim. Shehu sheneisem mokim lemidas hadin. Midas Orachim has this quality. At moisim mokim lemidas hadin, it allows midas hadin also. Moisim mokim means it provides, it recognizes from midas hadin. Mokol mokoim tzrichim lerachim. But nevertheless, you have to be merachim. Yeah, I'll explain in this whole phenomenon. Okay, before we go on, let me explain this phenomenon here. What you say? In simple terms, there is Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. Racham. Tiferes is the Niha Racham. What is the difference between Chesed and Rachamim? Rachamim is mercy, and Chesed is kindness. They seem to be very close relatives. The difference is like this. Chesed means just open, unrestrained goodness, which means that there is no scrutiny, no investigation. Does it deserve it? Is it appropriate? Whatever he wants, he gets. So this is chesed. Like when a parent is asked by a child, "Can I have this?" There are two views that a parent can use. One is, can I afford it? If I can afford it, why not? There's another view is it good for him to have it? Should I give it to him? Does he deserve it? These are essentially the two views of Chesed and Gvura. And Gevura. Chesed means, why not? I have it, why shouldn't, why not? Take it. Gevura says, does he deserve it? What for? What purpose? How are you going to use it? How much do you need? This is Then there is the third midah that essentially is truer than both chesed and gvura. This is called racham, where there is a consideration of the deservedness, whether the child deserves it, whether we should give it to him. But nevertheless, there is a leniency. From the perspective of gevura, there is no leniency. You know what leniency means? Leniency means generosity. Like, you really shouldn't get it, but I see you want it so much, I'll let you have it. That's called leniency. If it means so much to you. You understand? There are all kinds of different sources for this. So this rachamim is a midah of reality that combines chesed and gvura. That there is judgment, but it's not an extreme judgment. There is chesed, but it's not an extreme chesed. And the combination comes from the perspective of rachamim. Let me understand not only whether he needs it or not, whether it's right for him to have, but how much does it mean to him? How is it going to affect him? That's a valid consideration. This comes from the perspective of rachamim. So this is what he says. The rachamim is really a third midah. It's not chesed and it's not gvura. But even though rachamim incorporates both chesed and gvura, but in this incorporation, in this balance with the chesed and gvura, in the rachamim, chesed is preeminent. What preeminent means? Preeminent is more, has more power than gvura. In rachamim, chesed has more power than gvura. This is mati klape chesed. Hanetiya al chesed. Hanetiya al chesed. There is a netiya to chesed. There's a leaning towards chesed. Even though there is definitely consideration of gvura, but there is also a leaning towards chesed. If I can justify giving to him, I'll give it to him. I have to justify, but I'm looking for justification. Not like gvura, that's not looking for justification. Gvura is being very strict. You get what you deserve. Those are generally these three qualities. So that's what the Torah describes, that he had malach v'luz, livna and lach, then luz the army, which is gvura. But then machsev halav, then he revealed the whiteness in the luz v'armei, which means showing that he has a leaning towards chesed. This is the leaning towards chesed in the realm of rachamim. Okay, so let me go back to the second line, so you will see the words inside. Hainu. The second line from the top. Hainu, that means this peeling off the cover. Hainu, that means hanetiyo al hachesed the midas orachim. This is the netiyo to chesed. Netiyo means to lean towards chesed of the midah of rachim. Hu shenoisein mokim lemidas hadin. That on the one hand, noisein mokim. Noisein mokim means it recognizes the value of midas adin, not like midas chesed that doesn't recognize midas adin at all. It recognizes the value of midas adin, that it has to be judgment, it has to be scrutinized. But nevertheless, tzrichin lerachim. Nevertheless, he argues that you have to have mercy. So you can't carry the Midas Hadin to the extreme. You also have to bring out the whiteness and the chesed. Okay, so far we explained these words in the pasuk. All the way up, then the last words in the pasuk is machsoiv halovon. Machsoiv halovon means revealing the white. In this pasuk, there is redundancy. You know what redundancy is? Repetition. It says in the pasuk, he peeled off white peels. So it says already that he made it look white. Then it says, Machsev Halov, he revealed the whiteness. He already said he made white spots. So what's Machsev Halov is he revealed the whiteness. The Zohar says that means the Hainu. That refers to the Shoyresh HaMshocha Hu, because the Shoyresh, the root of this Hamshocha, of this ability that Yankiv Avinu had shown, Hu Mibchinas Loiven Ho'el Yoin. This is from that Bechina, that's what's called Loiven Ho'el Yoin, the whiteness above. Loiven Ho'el Yoin, this refers to that which is completely above all limitations. Hainu, which means Hamshocha Mibchinas Ein Soif. Loiven Ho'elin is referring to Ein Soif. So that Machsev Halovin revealed the Loiven, the Ein Soif that is there. So what is, sorry?
What? It's also Loiven Ho'elin. It's not the same thing as the Ein Soif. Why is it white?
Why is Loiven Ho'elin Ein Soif?
What's the difference between the Ein Soif and Loiven Ho'elin? Why is it white?
It's white because there is no darkness there. There's two types of white. There's a finite white that could be dark, and there is Loiven Ho'elin, which is the essential white. So in the pasuk, everything is hidden. It speaks about sticks with sheep, but really it's talking about things of a much infinitely higher inference. So it says that he revealed the whiteness, he peeled off, made white spots, and this whole phenomenon of getting these sticks and putting together and putting white sticks and red sticks and revealing all that, this is all a phenomenon of Machsev HaLovon, revealing the Lovon, the source of this whole thing. And what is the revealing of the Lovon? This is Hamshocha from Bechinas Ein Sof. This whole phenomenon that Yaakov Avinu was playing with these sticks was to be mamshich from Ein Sof. Let us finish a few more words, we'll understand the connection. In order to facilitate, make possible the hiskalus, the joining together of the two madreges, hischabrus, two madreges of chesed and gvura, to join together two opposite madreges of chesed and gvura, for this you have to be mamshich from a madrege that is completely above it, that's ifnatz misensif. This is going back to what we discussed before, Matan Torah, and by Kriyas Yamsuf. And the Rebbe is explaining now how Yankiv Avinu is involved in this. We said that Kriyas Yamsuf was B'schus Yankiv. So he explained the whole thing, because Yankiv Avinu's avodah was of a similar type. That his effort was to reveal and to be mamshich from Ein Sof in order to provide for his kalos of the two madrigas of Chesed and Gvur. Mm-hmm. This is the principle represented in Makel Yankiv and the stick of Yankiv. Hainu hahamshocho mibchinas atzmus ein soif. Makel Yankiv represented, and his avoider in with these sticks was to be mamshich mibchinas atzmus ein soif, from the aspect of atzmus ein soif. Liyos is chabrus b'chinas chesed and gvura, to provide and affect the ischabrus of chesed and gvura. And therefore this explains what the Zohar says. Ruach kodim. What the Zohar says by Kriyas Yamsuf, it was Ruach kodim. There was the east wind. Ho ruch do ruch the Yankiv. This Ruach kodim, the Zohar said, this is Ruch of the Yankiv. This is the spirit of Yankiv. Because Yankiv had this power, Shemamshich mebchinas atzmus ein soif. Because Yankiv had this avodah, that was mamshich from bchinas atzmus ein soif. And this is why Ruach Kodim, which affected the splitting of the Yamsuf, this is called Ruach of the Yankiv. Ve'al kein, and for this reason, bizchuso yehoyo kriyas Yamsuf. In his merit, we had Kriyas Yamsuf, which in principle, in Kriyas Yamsuf is Sheyiyah, that there should be Almodi Iskasya b'bchinas Almodi Isgalya. That Almodi Iskasya should be at the level of Almodi Isgalya. Shezehu Davko ale de Ruach Kodim, as we explained before, that this is only possible by utilizing this Ruach Kodim, this Ruach Kol, which is called Kodim. And what is Kodim? Mibchinas Kadmoino Shaloilam. The Ruach, the spirit of Kadmoino Shaloilam, that which preceded the world, of Hashem who precedes the world. Vehi ha'amshocha the Yankiv. And this is the very same thing. This is the same thing as the Hamshocha of Yankiv. Okay. Seems that this was quite a challenging thing. We learned a lot of Kabbalah Oisius. I hope, whatever will remain with us, but we try to bring in some insight to this. I want to translate this Inyan in our terms. Clearly, there is this Inyan, this Avodah, that Yidden, through their avodah in Torah, to doing mitzvahs, are definitely mamshir, the Inyan of Atzmus Ein Sof, into the world, to the extent that ultimately the world becomes transformed, and we change the whole nature of the world. But this is also true in our own avodah. We always speak in the principle that a person, he may have different kind of leanings. There's a person that's leaning towards chesed. He can't restrain himself. He has to be completely open, do whatever he wants, or he can't refuse somebody a favor, whatever it is. And there's a person who is extremely restrained. And we are saying that a person has to combine both of these natures. The whole principle of combining different natures means that one has to be able to go against his nature. How can a person go against his own nature? How is that possible? It is his nature. So if you say, you better not do this because if you do it, I'm going to hit you over the head, so then he doesn't do it. But that's not going against his nature. That's being scared of the stick. Going against his nature means that he himself is controlling it. He says, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do something else. How's that possible? In order to change one's venue from doing one thing, and he says, no, I'm going to do something else, he has to have an insight. He has to be able to relate and understand what is the other thing that he's going to do. But if his nature is to do this way, he can relate to the other way. If somebody stands over his with a stick, so he doesn't know what he's doing it anyway. Doesn't have to define it for himself. But if he has to define it himself, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it the other way. He has to be able to define it. Where does he get that definition? Where does he get that ability? The answer is that even though we have natures, natural inclinations, but we have also intellect, which is above nature. And then beyond the intellect, we have the emunah, the insight, which is completely above the whole thing. It's not affected by any of that. And beyond that, we have even that which is higher than emunah, as we always say, the etzem hanefesh, the chaya echida of the neshama. In other words, a person literally has the capacity to see things differently than he is inclined to see them. Because he can rise above his nature. The intellect, like you have a common expression, I understand everything you say. I understand it very well. You're absolutely right. But I still want to do this. I still want this. It doesn't, doesn't affect me that deeply. That is true. But the intellect in a person, this is the place where a person defines himself the reality. This is what's true and false. And from that intellect view, he can see this to be right and this to be wrong. And his intellect is able to illuminate the path for him and to show him this is the right way to do it, and go against his nature. And he's not going blindly. He sees exactly what he's doing, and he's able to overcome his nature by drawing down from his insight, from his intellectual insight, from a deeper insight that he has, to bring it down into his common thinking process, into his heart, into his hands, and to recognize that that to do the wrong way is denying his own truth. So for the moment it may be satisfying his nature, but is he actually not really representing his real self. Because his real self is that which he recognizes in his intellect. So, in a miniature sense, that Hashem has put into us also what's called the Etzem HaNefesh. We are not limited, we're not forced to follow our nature. An animal is forced to follow its nature. But we have an Etzem. We are not forced to follow our nature. We can rise above our nature and follow and define the right from wrong on that basis. And eventually, when a person follows this and practices this little by little, eventually that becomes his nature. Nature is essentially that which a person is accustomed to do, that which he has tasted, he has felt good doing. Just as a person feels good by nature to give in and to treat himself to certain foods, let's say, he can feel good to restrain himself from certain foods. He can change his nature and feel good, because the person can rise, is not limited. This is the difference between the human being and the animal. The animal is bound by its nature. The human being is not. But it's not an easy thing. He has to fight. He has nature, because every habit is a very natural. It's an interesting, very simple phenomenon. Just like in the world, in the physical world, there is a principle in physics called inertia. The principle of inertia is that if an object is moving, if nothing will interfere with its movement, it will move indefinitely. It's called inertia. I'm sure you're aware of this. You know this principle? An object moves. This is the principle that they send up the satellites. The satellite can circle the Earth for years. It's not using energy. It's not using fuel to move around. It's put in a certain orbit at a certain level from the Earth. Because there's no interference, there's no atmosphere, there's no air. It's a perfect vacuum. So it goes without interference, and it goes without stopping. Nothing interferes, so it goes. It's actually standing still, because nothing is moving it, but it's in that state of movement. Nothing interferes with it, so it's a state of movement. That's called inertia. So that,
Why do you call that still though? Why is it?
Because it doesn't really use force to move. It's standing still is in a state of movement. You understand? This same nature exists in a person. A person is sleeping. Oh, I'm sleeping. Leave me alone. It's time to get up. I'm sleeping. In other words, he would rather to continue to be in that same state. It's late. It's time to go to sleep. No, I want to stay up. What does that mean? I don't want to change from what I'm doing. And a person has to have, control, and which is his intellect that directs and says, no, you're not following nature. You're not going to have inertia direct your life. If I'm in a state of sleeping, I'm going to continue to sleep. If I'm in a state of waking, I'm going to continue to stay awake. That doesn't make any sense. That's not a human being. This is what the Rebbeinu made, a daily cycle. In the morning you have to get up, Yetzi Odom Lefaloi, time to get up, and time to go to sleep. And time to do everything. That's what the Shlomo Amala says. Ace, like Kael Ace. You know, there's a posik in Keheles, like Kael Ace. Everything has a time. Shlomo Amala goes through a whole slew of things and opposites. It's time to get angry, time to appease. Everything has a time. Because a human being has to be able to rise above his nature. It doesn't mean that it's easy, but he has to. That's how he has to conduct his life. If we're learning, you have to stop. What?
Someone's taking care of the computer.
No,